Let's get started on Chapter 3, Deploying Windows 7. In this chapter, we will review manual installation and we will look at the Windows Automated Installation Kit. We will look at answer files, at imaging, and at network installation. We will look at Windows Deployment Services and at System Center Configuration Manager. Manual installation, as you recall from Chapter 2, there are 4 types of manual installation: clean install, an upgrade, a migration, and a dual boot. But when we say enterprise deployment, what we mean is performing installation on a large number of workstations. There are a couple different ways to perform network deployments, and we'll look at all of them: answer file, imaging, network installation, and Windows Deployment Services. The Windows Automated Installation Kit, WAIK, is a download which is used to create answer files, and it contains Imagex, which is used to create images. To download the Windows Automated Installation Kit, we go to www.microsoft.com/downloads and we select the Windows Automated Installation Kit and we download it. After we download it, we install it, and we see that the Windows Automated Installation Kit contains a set of tools, including the Windows System Image Manager. The tools in the Windows Automated Installation Kit include the System Image Manager, Imagex, which is used to create images, DISM, which is used to modify images, Windows PE, which is a bootable DVD, SYSPREP, which is used to strip out variables, which must be unique, and USMT, the User State Migration Tool. Let's start out with an answer file. An answer file is used to perform unattended installations. If you have to do a manual installation on one computer, you put the DVD in, and then you have to type in the product ID and the administrator password and the time zone and the partition size and the domain name. And then if you have to go and do an install on a second computer, you have to type in those same variables. And if you have to do an install on a third computer, you have to stand in front of the computer and type in those variables. And it's not so bad if you only have to do it to 1 or 2 computers, but to do this on a large number of computers is awfully time consuming. So what we do is we use an answer file to perform an unattended installation. An answer file is a file which contains all the variables that you would typically have to type in: product ID, administrator password, and time zone. And that file is stored on a USB drive. So when you boot to the installation DVD, the Windows 7 installation DVD reads these variables in from the USB drive during the installation, so you don't have to stand there and type in those variables. To create an answer file, you use the Windows System Image Manager. In the Windows System Image Manager, the first thing you do is select File, and you select the original image, the raw image which is on the Windows installation DVD. And the name of that image is install.wim, Windows Image File. I select that image. Then I specify that this is going to be a new answer file, indicating that I'm going to be adding variables. Then under Windows PE, I specify that it will wipe the hard disk of the computer that we're doing the installation on. Under Create Partition Type, it will create a partition that's 20 gig in size, and it will be a primary partition. Under Product Key, I type in the product key, and this would usually be a volume license key. Under Administrator Password, I type in the administrator password. Under domain, I specify the domain name, in our case, ccbcmd.edu. And then over Tools, I would validate to see if there are any errors in the answer file. And there are not. So then what I will do is I will select File, and I will save that answer file to the USB drive, and the name of the answer file is called Unattended.xml, and I save it to the DVD. If we look at the contents of Unattended.xml, we can see it has some of the variables that we typed in. For example, it will add a new partition. It will be formatted as NTFS. We can see that this is the product key, and then the organization name is CCBC. So to perform an unattended installation using the answer file, 1, you put the USB drive, which has the answer file on it, in the USB port. Then you put the Windows install DVD in the DVD drive. Then you turn the computer on. And when you do, the install program will read the variables from the answer file into the installation, so you can just walk away and the installation will finish up on its own. That's why they call it an unattended installation. That's one method of doing an installation. Another method is using imaging, a little more complicated. An image is a single file which contains the entire operating system, and it could contain applications as well. It's stored on a deployment server, and then it is pushed over the wire down to the client computers. There are 5 steps involved in capturing images and performing the network deployment. What we do is we go up to our reference computer, and that's the first workstation, and we install the operating system and the applications on that computer, and we get it just the way we want every other computer in the organization to be. That's called the reference computer. And then we run a program called SYSPREP, and what SYSPREP does is it strips out variables which must be unique, such as computer name and SID, security identifier. Then I use Imagex, and what Imagex does is it creates an image, a single image file from the disk, and saves it up to our deployment server. Then what I do, or what the technician does, is goes to a workstation, and he boots from the Windows PE DVD. Why does he do that? Why doesn't he just boot the PC? Well, theoretically, this is a brand new computer with nothing on the hard disk, so you got to boot to something. So you boot to Windows PE, which is a bootable DVD, and then the technician maps a drive to the deployment server, which has the image, and then uses Imagex to pull the image off the deployment server and push it down to the workstation. 5 steps. Install the operating system and applications on the reference computer. Run SYSPREP to strip out unique variables. Use Imagex to create the image and store it on the server. Boot to Windows PE to connect to the deployment server, and then use Imagex to apply the image to the workstation. To create a Windows PE boot disk, remember, Windows PE is a bootable DVD that allows a workstation to connect to a network server. So to create a Windows PE boot disk, assuming you've already installed the Windows Automated Installation Kit, there are 4 steps. You copy Windows PE, then you copy Imagex, which is used for creating images. You use the operating system CD image file to create the image, and then you burn the image to DVD. So, step 1, you go to the PE Tools folder, which is under the Windows Automated Installation Kit folder, and you type copy PE, and what that does is it copies the boot files to a separate folder. Then you copy Imagex to that folder as well. Then to to create the image, you use a program called OSCD Image. You run OSCD Image, and what that does is it creates an image file, an ISO file. And then there is the image file right there, but it's still on the hard disk. So what we need to do is now to burn that image to DVD. Of course, you could use Windows 7 and just burn the selected files and folders to disk, or a lot of people like to use a program called Roxio, and that's a program that allows you to burn images to disk. So you burn the image to disk, and now you have a Windows PE boot disk, and that allows you to boot to the DVD so the workstation then can connect to the server. It's easy to confuse Windows PE with Windows RE. Windows RE, which we talked about in the previous chapter, is a bootable DVD that's used for repairing disks that have Windows 7 installed on them. And to create a system repair disk, you go into Control Panel, under System and Security, under Backup and Restore, and we select Create a System Repair Disk. Put in the DVD, select Create Disk, and then it creates the Windows RE disk. Then you put the Windows RE disk into the DVD reader, and you turn the computer on, and it boots to Windows RE. And Windows RE allows you to run Startup Repair, to run a System Restore, to run an image recovery, to do a memory diagnostics, or to go to the command prompt. The difference between PE and RE is that PE is just a bootable DVD that allows the workstation to connect to a network server, whereas Windows RE contains diagnostic utilities that allow you to repair a hard drive. Now let's discuss Windows Deployment Services. Windows Deployment Services is very similar to what we just did. It's very similar to installing an image over the wire, but it uses PXE, which stands for Pre-Boot Execution. A Windows Deployment Services server contains the boot image and the install image. And to connect to it, you do not need to boot to a Windows PE DVD. To connect to it, you use a computer which has a network interface card, which is PXE compliant. PXE stands for Pre-Boot Execution. And with PXE, when you turn the computer on, the PXE network interface card allows the workstation to boot from the network server and then to install the image over the wire. It just saves you the trouble of having to carry a DVD around to every single computer. I mean, this assumes that the computer you have has a PXE compliant network interface card, but most of them do these days. Windows Deployment Services is installed on a Windows server. And when you install Windows Deployment Services on a Windows server, you must also have Active Directory installed, DHCP installed, and DNS installed. And of course, we will do all of this in DCOM 202, the Windows Server class. DISM. So images are created using Imagex, and images are stored on the Windows Deployment Services server. The Deployment Image and Service Management tool is used to modify those images. The Deployment Image and Service Management tool can be used to add drivers, add applications, and enable features on existing images. If we type DISM /?, we will see that DISM enumerates, installs, uninstalls, configures, and updates features and packages in Windows images. So the first thing to do is to mount an image, which means to make it available for editing. To mount an image, you go to the command prompt and type DCOM space / mount -wim followed by the source folder, and then that mounts the image. And to add drivers to the image, you go to the command prompt and type DISM space /image : space C : / the name of the mount, followed by the add driver command, followed by the folder where the drivers are located, and that copies the drivers into the image. Operation successfully completed. And then once you're done, to save and close the image, you go to the command prompt and type DCOM /unmount WIM followed by /commit. And that commits the image. After you've modified the image, then you load it on the Windows Deployment Services server so it can be pushed down to client computers. Deploying image files. You have two types of images: thin image and thick image. A thin image only includes the operating system, and then later on, applications can be pushed down to those clients using group policy. Or a thick image, which includes the operating system and the applications. Windows Deployment Services summary. A Windows Deployment Services server holds images, the boot image and the install image. And the Windows Pixie Boot compliant workstation connects to that server, and the operating system is installed over the wire. WDS is installed on a Windows server, which requires that you first install Active Directory, DHCP, and DNS, all of which we will do in the next class. And the last thing that I wanted to discuss was System Center Configuration Manager. And you're not expected how to use System Center Configuration Manager, you just have to know what it is. System Center Configuration Manager is a piece of enterprise management software. We see that System Center Configuration Manager is a solution to comprehensively assess, deploy, and update your servers, clients, and devices. And we see it does 5 things. Asset intelligence. It tells you how many computers you have and how much free space there is on the hard disk of each computer. It allows you to apply patches and updates to workstations. It allows you to perform remote configurations, such as enabling or disabling the firewall on any computer in the organization. It can be used to push applications down to workstations, and it can be used to perform remote operating system deployment. There is an entire course on System Center Configuration Manager, and if you go to a company which uses System Center Configuration Manager, you might want to take this course. System Center Configuration Manager is a piece of enterprise management software. Chapter summary. In this chapter, we looked at local installation and we discussed deployment. We looked at the Windows Automated Installation Kit, answer file, unattended installation, and network installation. We looked at reference computer, SYSPREP, Imagex, and Windows PE. We looked at DCOM, the Deployment Image and Service Management Tool, at the Windows Deployment Services, at Pixie, which is a pre-boot execution network interface card, and we briefly looked at the System Center Configuration Manager. And this concludes Chapter 3. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.